let's talk about what can you see in your lateral view of your elephant? Your beautiful drawing. What can you see?
The tusk.
You can see what?
His trunk.
His trunk.
His tail.
Both ears?
Just
One ear.
The
His
tail.
legs.
Tail.
His
Legs.
The
Okay.
right legs.
How about both? Can we see both eyes?
No.
No. Okay.
Oh, wait.
What about in your anterior view? Like we're looking at the front. What can we see?
Both ears.
Both ears.
Both eyes.
Both eyes.
The nose.
Trunk.
Yeah.
Okay. What about our tail?
No.
No. Okay. But what about our posterior view? What can we see?
Only the tail.
Only the tail. Nothing of the front. Right? Okay. And then what about the bottom?
His legs.
You see just
Legs and his
stomach.
belly.
The bottom of the trunk and mouth and all that.
The bottom of everything. Okay. So what do you think we're going to replace the elephant with?
Our bodies.
Not our bodies,
No,
but
the
our heart. Okay, our Nina, our heart. Okay. So now we're going to be staring at our heart instead of an elephant. Okay. So could we see everything in one picture? No. We needed what? Multiple pictures to get the full image and the full understanding of what is going on with our elephant. And now we're going to say heart. Okay. So that is what we're going to be talking about, is how do we get all of our images together to make our views, to look at our heart, to understand if something's wrong, okay? And you go back. All right. So thank you, William Einthoven. He is the one that came up with this. He created this machine. Thank you, technology, for making our machines much smaller than this giant one, right? But what do you see with his arms and leg here? They're doing what? They're sitting in water. But what about his right leg?
It's grounding.
It's grounding. It's not in the water because your right leg is your ground leg. Very good. Okay. I'm gonna skip the video.
Yeah, we didn't even
Yeah,
do it last time. It was great.
Okay. I don't love the video.
Yeah.
But we can go, you can go back and watch it if you really want to. Okay. So this is an example of your 12 lead EKG printouts, okay? We're gonna get to like the what's and the whys here as we go through today, but forever for always it's going to be laid out the same way. You're gonna have lead 1, 2, 3, AVR, AVL, AVF, V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6. They will always be laid out that way. On your printouts in the lab, most of the times like if you're printing on the floors and things like that, you will see that you have those 12 boxes here on top, but then a lot of times we will have what's called a rhythm strip that prints out on the bottom. On this one it is lead 2. It does not have to be lead 2. It could be really whatever lead we dictate that rhythm strip to be. Sometimes you may even have up to 3 rhythm strips running below your 12 views here, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind. We're really just talking about our 12 views for today. So when I say lead, I mean view, okay? I've really kind of preached that to my class, so Ms. Turner's class, if you haven't really heard that, you're gonna hear me talk about that. How many electrodes does it take to make 12 leads? 10. Okay, 10 electrodes to make 12 leads, okay? 12 views, all right? So, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are our different views that we're gonna talk about today. All right. You don't need to color this yet. We're going to come back to this at the end and finish this, but this is kind of where we're going. So remember, instead of the elephant, we now have the heart, and these are going to be our different views. How do we see the heart, and how do we have a whole picture of our heart using our different views? Okay, so we are going to talk about okay, let's go back to electrodes. How many electrodes to make 12 leads? 10. Okay, 4 of those are what kind of electrodes? Len leads. Because remember, we use leads in lots of different ways. Okay, and then you have your precordial. Okay, precordial are what? V1 through 6. Okay, we're going to put that off to the side, and we're going to talk about our limb electrodes or limb leads. Okay, with those 4 electrodes, we can make 6 leads, 6 views. Okay, of that, we're going to break it up. We're going to have 3 bipolar limb leads, and then we're going to have 3 unipolar limb leads. So first we're going to start with bipolar limb leads. We have 4 electrodes or 4 leads, limb leads that make those up. One of those is your RL or your ground. Is that going to come into the picture? No, we're not going to use RL for anything. So now we are going to use right arm, and left leg. Oh look, what do I have? A triangle. Whose triangle? Einthoven's triangle, okay? Very good. All right, so First, we're gonna talk about bipolar limb leads. When I say bi, you think two, because we need 2 electrodes to make our bipolar limb lead fuse, okay? So we're gonna talk about what makes up those bipolar leads. Our bipolar leads are gonna be lead 1, 2, and 3, and they're all written with Roman numerals, okay? So you have your triangle over here. You can see right arm, and left leg, because right leg is what? Your ground. It's not in the picture. Okay, what does grounding do? What are we doing ultimately? Sidetrack. Huh? It's used to reduce artifact, and in other words, to reduce artifact, what is it really doing? It's pulling out. Take a guess. Okay. What? What are we gonna pull out? Any other electrical activity it may be picking up on? So we have a nice smooth, nice pretty picture, nice pretty lines, okay? But we'll call that artifact. We'll come back here in a couple weeks. We'll round back into artifact. What is artifact? And all of the things. Okay, so we do not count right leg like we said. That's your ground. We have right arm, and left leg. This picture is nice and confusing looking. I do not need you to understand this particular triangle. This is truly Einthoven's triangle, but we are just skimming the surface of all the information when it comes to 12 leads today. Okay, truly what you can do with Einthoven's triangle is then use the triangle to assess what is the axis deviation of the heart. So not everyone's heart sits upright and pretty in their chest cavity. Okay, we all have some type of deviation, tilt to it, some tilt a little bit to the left, some tilt a little bit to the right, and forwards, and all the things. Y'all don't need to know that, okay? I do not need you to know the circle of degrees or anything like that, but if you do go Google Einthoven's and you are like, I saw all of this and Miss Gerald didn't talk about it, it's fine, because we're not covering that. I don't need you to go that far, okay? So let that go. Okay, I do need you to know how lead 1, 2, and 3 are made up, okay? All right, so on this picture, you can see I have positives and negatives, okay? I'm dealing with right arm, I'm dealing with left arm, I'm dealing with left leg. You can see right arm is always what? Negative. Left leg is always positive. Oh, but left arm sometimes is positive or it is negative. Okay, so we're going to talk about what makes up each of our leads, but what I need you to understand is who is making these electrodes positive or negative poles. Is it you? Is it your patient? Not gravity, although I love that word always and forever.
Your patient.
Not my patient. My EKG what? Say it louder. My machine. Yes, your machine is doing this. So for those of you that are like really want to go to the but why? Don't. Call you out every time. But don't. Just know that the machine is really smart and it knows how to do that, and it's going to create the positive or negative poles where it needs to. Okay? And you just need to understand when it is positive and when it is negative, okay? All right, so what also I need you to understand is that we measure electricity from negative to positive, okay? So truly the electricity that is happening is the full contraction. So for all of my people in my room, right, we start in the what? SA node, we move to the AB node and into the bundle branches and all the things down in the ventricles, right? So we have our contraction moving and an upward angle at a downward angle down the heart. Okay, that is what we are measuring, is how is that electricity moving from here to there. Okay, so we are just saying how do we see that electricity? Okay, so we are picking up how is electricity moving from here to here in a negative to positive sense. However, our lead is going to be from positive to negative. Okay, and that's how we see it. Okay, so for a lead 1, okay, my right arm, my right electrode becomes a negative pole. My left arm becomes a positive pole. Okay, I am measuring how electricity is moving from this direction to this direction. However, my view is here. So I'm watching it from here. Okay, so if I'm steering here, who am I looking at? I'm looking at Nina, aka my heart. What part of Nina do I see here? Lateral, because I'm looking at her side, okay? So lead 1, the electricity we are measuring from negative to positive, or in other words, right arm to left arm, but my view is from left arm in, okay? And so my view is a lateral view coming in from the side. Good? Okay, now we're gonna go to lead 2. Okay, lead 2 is going to use left leg and left leg and right arm. My right arm stays a negative pole. My left leg is going to be a positive pole. Electricity, we're gonna measure electricity from negative to positive, but we are going to do what? We are gonna look from the leg, or the positive pole here. Okay, that's your right leg. So if my right leg is positive, I'm now steering this way at what is happening with my electricity. Okay, now I want you to think about, where does my electricity start and how does it move down? Does it follow my line here? No. Where's my SA node? Where's my AV node? Where are my ventricles? Oh, it moves this way, okay, as I'm looking at it. If I never define what lead I am talking about when we get to rhythms, you're always gonna default that I am talking about a lead 2, okay? Because you can see that I have this nice, pretty view of how that electricity is coming directly at me, okay? But if I'm steering here, if my view is down here from left leg up to right arm, what type of view do I have? What am I really looking at? I'm looking, it's gonna be inferior, okay? But you're, from what we talked about, you're not totally wrong. Okay, but inferior, I'm really looking from the bottom up, okay? All right, so that's lead 2. Okay, now we have lead 3. Okay, lead 3 is going to use left leg and left arm. Left leg is gonna stay positive. Left arm is gonna become negative. Okay, so which way are we measuring electricity? Negative to positive, or left arm to left leg, and which way are we looking? We're still what? We're still inferior because we are looking up. I'm like, oh, I still see Nina's bottom. Okay, so I'm looking upwards. Is my lead 2 and my lead 3 should look what? Not the same, but very similar, right? They're very similar views. They'll be different, but they'll be very similar, okay? Whereas over here, should my lead 1 look like my lead 2 or my lead 3? No. Okay, and lead 1, 2, and 3 are all what type of leads? Limb leads, but what type of limb leads? Bipolar limb leads. Okay, 1, 2, and 3 are all bipolar limb leads because they use how many electrodes? 2. Okay. Are we lost? Okay. Hang in there. We're gonna get there. All right. So lead 1, we use right arm and left arm. Our right arm is negative. Our left arm is positive. Our electricity is moving this direction, but we are staring at a lateral view from the left side. Lead 2, right arm is negative, left leg is positive. We are staring upwards, okay? See how this angle follows? Like SA node, AV node, all the way down. Do you see that now? Okay, and then lead 3 is gonna be left leg positive, left arm negative, so we're staring upwards at a slightly different angle, but also inferior, okay? Still all bipolar limb leads. Okay, now we have unipolar limb leads. So if bipolar limb leads use 2 electrodes, what do you think unipolar limb leads use? 1 electrode. Okay, so our unipolar limb leads are going to start with the letters AV. AV stands for augmented voltage or augmented vector. Okay, I like to say vector. A lot of, like, I think on certification it says voltage. I want you to be aware of both words there. Okay. Where it's pulling from is that we are now going to create this imaginary central terminal called Wilson Central Terminal, okay? And that is a reference point from the augmentation by averaging the 3 leads together, okay, the 3 electrodes. All right, so we still are dealing with RA, LA, and LL because these are still limb leads. They're just unipolar. Okay, so we have this imaginary negative center called Wilson Central Terminal, or WCT, okay? Once again, if you're the what, the whys, or who's, who made WCT or Wilson Central Terminal? Who's telling what poles are what? The machine. So who created Wilson Central Terminal? The machine, okay? So we just know the machine creates this negative center, okay? Which means that all of our limb leads are now what? If your center is negative, what are these? They're all gonna be positive. Okay, so you have Wilson Central Terminal here as a faux negative center, okay? And then we are gonna be looking in from each of our limb leads. Still no right leg because it's still our ground. Good, okay. So I'm gonna come back to AVR. AVL, augmented voltage or vector L. Left arm, left side. Okay, remember my Wilson Central Terminal is right here. So it's negative, so I'm positive, so electricity is moving this direction, but I am steering in at the negative. Okay, so my viewpoint is here. Okay, so now which way am I looking at Nina? Still lateral, slightly different angle, right, than lead one though, okay? All right, left leg is actually going to be AVF. So augmented voltage, augmented vector. What do you think you could stand for F? Foot or feet, okay? Just what is the F, like how do you get to F? Okay, so can you use your leg, can you use your right leg? No, you have to use left leg. So just know that F, think foot, feet, okay? But we're staring in what direction now? Inferior, so we're still at an inferior. So AVF should look similar to what other leads that we talked about? What? 2 and 3, because they are both inferior. So we have AVF, lead 2 and lead 3 are all inferior. They're all looking from the bottom, just at slightly different angles, okay? Now we have our AVR, so augmented voltage or vector from the right. Okay, so if I'm looking up here, which way is my electricity moving in a contraction from, if I'm viewing from right here?
Away.
Down and what? Away. So am I really seeing anything? Is anything, this is not a great viewpoint for me to really have any kind of diagnostic, be of any diagnostic help to me, okay? That being said, if I'm staring this direction and everything's moving away, what do you think would be the opposite of my AVR, of the leads we've already talked about? Not AVF, but close. So opposite of here, if I'm steering this direction, what was steering this direction? Huh? Lead 2, okay? So I'm gonna hold that thought. Really, I'm gonna challenge y'all when y'all look at your 12 leads, look at your lead 2, look at your AVR, and actually it should be inverted from the other one. Okay, so what you see in 2, if you flip it upside down, that's probably what you're seeing in AVR, okay? But we're not gonna use AVR for anything diagnostic, okay? So where I've told you to say, this is a lateral view, this is an inferior view, and all the things, AVR, we're not gonna give it a view angle, okay? So just leave it as, it doesn't get a turn, okay? So these are your what type of leads? Unipolar limb leads. Okay, unipolar limb leads, AVR, AVL, AVF. Okay, what were your bipolar limb leads? Lead 1, lead 2, lead 3. Good. Okay, so here we had your 1, 2, and 3. Those are your, just keep saying it out loud with me. Bipolar limb leads. AVR, AVL, AVF are your unipolar limb leads. Okay, and then that leaves us with V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6. What do you think those stand for?
Pectoral leads.
For precordial leads. Okay, do you have a question?
Yeah, so the 6 leads represent like the 4.
These 6?
Yeah, these
Okay.
6 represent the 4 leads, 4 electrodes we put on the limb.
So these 6 leads can be made all up with the 4 electrodes that we put on the limbs. Yes, that's correct. Okay. And then some need, your bipolar need 2 electrodes and your unipolar uses 1 electrode. Does that make sense? Aim for my board. You're there, hang in there. Okay. Alright, so V1 through V6 are gonna be your precordial leads. Okay, so what electrodes do you think we're gonna use? V1 through V6, and do you think they're gonna be bipolar or unipolar? Unipolar. So we can't just call our AVR, AVL, AVF unipolar leads. You have to call them unipolar limb leads because we also have our precordial leads, which are also unipolar. Okay, so we are only going to use V1 through V6 for these. Because they are so close to the heart, we actually don't need to pull from anything else. We don't need to augment them, okay? And so we're going to use V1 through V6 to create the last 6 of our leads, our views. Okay, so that being said, V1 and V2 are going to be septal leads. Okay, so when I say septal, you should think what word? Septum. What is septum? The separation of right and left in the heart, okay? Oh, look, V1 and V2. What did I just divide? The left and the right, okay? So that's how I want you to think of V1, V2. V1, V2 are septal. They're gonna divide that heart from right to left. Okay, then you have anterior, V3, V4. Okay, so we're right here. How am I staring at Nina right here? And Nina, honestly, if you're a little bit further over. I'm staring directly at her, right? That's an anterior view, okay? And then I have V5 and V6 all the way on the side over here. Remember my class, I told you V6 goes what? Directly on that side, okay, when you're placing it. So V5 and V6 are gonna be all the way over here, and those are gonna be what kind of views? Lateral views, okay? So you have your septal views, anterior views, lateral views, and we're just gonna progress our way to the side, okay? Okay, so back to this picture that I told you we were gonna wrap up with. Okay, so our heart has what to deliver oxygen to us, going back to blood flow and all the things. Okay, so how does your heart get oxygen? Okay, coronary arteries, thank you. And what coronary arteries do we have? We have a left, which LAD and the goes around. Circumflex, okay, and Miss Berner was telling her other class this morning, when it divides or it forks right there, there's a really fancy word. Does anyone happen to know it? I doubt it, but just throw it out there. It's called bifurcate. Okay, we'll go back and spell that in a little bit.
There's our bi prefix
So
again.
bifurcate, right, we're going into 2 different channels there. So your left main bifurcates into your LAD or your left anterior descending that goes down into the very front hearty part of your heart, okay? Remember Widowmaker? And then you have your circumflex that goes around, it's circumventing, it's going around to the back, okay? Then what's on the other side of your heart? What coronary artery are we missing? The RCA, or your right coronary artery, okay? So, remember, how do I know? Go back to your elephant. How do I know if there's a problem with the trunk of my elephant versus the tail? How do I know if there's a problem with the belly? All of the things. So how do I know if there's a problem with my RCA? Look, my RCA runs over here. So what views are gonna give me insights to my RCA? 2, 3, and AVF on my inferior views. Okay, what about my septal? What coronary arteries do I really care about in my septal? My LAD. What about my anterior? Trick question. There's some overlap here. Not quite. Maybe the side of the circumflex, but I still care about my LAD here in my anterior. Septal and anterior are very similar views. Okay, and then I have my lateral over here. So my 1, my AVL, V5, V6. What is that really giving me a great view of?
Is that the coronary artery in the circumflex?
Really, that circumflex as it's coming around to the side, okay? So you see how these different views are gonna tell me different things. So just like we did with our elephant, I can't see the trunk, or if all I did was look at that anterior view and they have a big gash on the side of their back by their tail, can I see that in an anterior view? No, I might think that they're completely fine, but if I went and looked at that posterior view, what would I see? I have a big gash, I have a problem, right? So I need to see the whole picture, okay? So that's really where we're kind of coming in there. Okay, so this kind of lays out remember we always go 1, 2, 3, AVR, AVL, AVF, V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6. It never changes, okay? 1 is always a lateral view. 2 is an inferior view. 3 is an inferior view. We talked about all this, okay? You need to know your different viewpoints. What leads make what views. Okay, I think page 45, there should be a 12 lead that y'all can color. Yes, Megan. So AVR we do not care about, remember? So that's that one we're staring at and everything's moving away from you. We're not gonna use that in any diagnostic purposes, and so it's not gonna count in the mix of all this. It's not that we don't use it for other things, it's just for what we are talking about specifically today, it's not gonna come into play. You put NA, but just know like you're not gonna count that in like any of our readings for what y'all will do.
What does the A stand for? Something like the AVR, AVL.
So AV is augmented voltage or augmented vector. Okay, so does it look like fun to memorize this? No? Okay, you wanna cheat?
Yes.
Yes, always wanna cheat, right? Okay, are you ready for it? I'm gonna say it, and then we're gonna go through a class and say it, and then you're gonna say this out loud to yourself every time you take a test or certification of all the things, okay? All right. Big lie, L-I-I. Skip AVR. Little lie, L-I. Ass spelled backwards, A-S-S. That is all, A-L-L. Okay, I told you I'd let you cuss later today appropriately. Okay, so, say this again with me.
Big lie, little lie, ass spelled backwards, that is all.
Okay, one more time.
Big lie, little lie, ass spelled backwards, that is all.
Okay, that's how you're gonna remember this. Okay, that being said, how do I know if I actually have a problem going on in my 12 lead? Will you, as an EKG tech, will you ever diagnose a problem? No, but do you need to know when to speak up and hand something over to a doctor to have them look at it and fully diagnose?
Yes.
And say, hey, we got an issue. Yes, okay, so that is within scope of you, you're not diagnosing, but you flag, hey, this is something worthy of looking at. If you just see a problem in one view, that actually doesn't create enough validity to say that there's something going on. You actually need it to be in two different views, but they have to be what we call contiguous. Have you ever heard of the word contiguous? So kind of pause. So contiguous United States. Have you ever heard that? I heard multiple, keep going. There's 48 of them. Or would it make more sense if I say, can you list the two non-contiguous states?
Border.
Hawaii and Alaska, because they do not what with the rest of the United States? They do not border, they do not touch, okay? Now, on my sheet, I don't need them to physically be contiguous. I need them to be anatomically contiguous. In other words, do they line up in the same realm of anatomy, okay? So if I see a problem in lead 2, I know that is an inferior view. Okay, so then I need to go check my other inferior view spots. If I see a problem also in either 3 or AVF, because those are also inferior views, then I know I probably have a problem, okay? If I do not see anything, then I need to go back and double check, maybe my leads were funky or something like that. If I have a problem in lead 1, which ones do I want to go check? I know that is a lateral view, so which other leads should I be looking at? AVL and V5 and V6, because they are all lateral. Okay, we're going to call those contiguous. Okay, so I need to have at least 2 leads that have a problem in them, and they need to be contiguous in that they are representing the same viewpoint. Okay, questions on that? Okay, so let's color and draw and do all of the things. Okay, all right. 1, 2, and 3 are what type of leads? Bipolar what? Bipolar limb leads. Okay, AVR, AVL, and AVF are what type of leads? Unipolar limb leads.
Thank you so much.
And V1 through V6 are very cordial, and they are unipolar. Okay. Okay, which ones are my lateral? Think big lie.
So
One, okay. Little lie, we skip ABR. And that is all. So I have L. Okay. Okay, what about inferior?
lead 2 and 3,
Lead 2 and 3, big lie,
and then VF.
and ABF. Do I have any others?
Yeah, the lead. No. That's no.
Trick question. Okay, what about septal?
V1, V2.
V1 and V2, okay, because as spelled backwards. These are my S's. Okay, and then we have anterior. V3 and V4, good. Okay, I'm gonna write your. Okay. Big lie, little lie, asphalt backwards, that is all. Okay? And do we care about ABR in this sense? No, so we're just gonna,
So we're not gonna like work on APR.
I need you to know what makes ABR. Right arm. Wait for my other drawing. Right arm electrode. Make sure ABR, because it's unipolar with your Wilson's terminal. Right arm is positive, Wilson's terminal is negative. Okay, I need you to know that much. And beyond that, it doesn't have a viewpoint or anything like that. Okay. I want y'all to look on your thing, look at lead 2 and look at ABR and tell me, do they look like they're inverted from each other? ABR and your lead 2. Which is so funny. Okay. Good. Can I? Let's go to questions and then we'll probably stop there and then I'll.
Okay, okay.
Can I erase it?
If you would like.
I would like.
Maybe
Take
I-
a picture.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a picture. Say cheese.
That's cute.
I know. You're there. You were. Good. Take pictures.
Somebody here talking?
Hello.
Is your name Bo on AirDrop? I got you.
Okay, so let's answer these questions.
wanna grab your whiteboards and kinda clear them off. Grab your dry erase marker.
Okay, before we do that, actually, let's do questions then I'll ask. Hi. Got your whiteboard. If you really like your elephants, you can just flip it over and do the other side. Oh, I guess.
Unless you're using Miss Verner's cheat force.
Sorry. That's what they were trying to tell me earlier.
Yes, yes.
Mine are two-sided.
Yes. Miss Jill has the cool whiteboards.
Okay, y'all ready? All right, you are performing a 12-lead EKG on a patient. The printout is blank in the box for lead 2. Which electrode should you check on the patient's body? Okay, what electrodes make lead 2? Lead 2. Lead 2. What electrode should you check on the patient? Sorry, talked a lot today.
Wait, is this right or wrong?
Yeah, it's inferior, that's all I know.
Yeah, it's like there.
You're right though. Inferior is like, wait.
Okay, okay, I'm not seeing a lot of right answers.
Oh.
That's rough.
Okay, so. All right, which electrode should you check on the patient's body? I'm gonna go back and say, we're looking at lead 2. What type of lead is lead 2? Start there. Bipolar limb lead. So how many electrodes are involved here? 2. So which 2 bipolar limb lead electrodes are we using? Okay, so lead 2, we have lead 1, lead 2, lead 3.
Yeah, I don't know.
So which one is this? Right arm and
You're showing
left leg. We have both of those. Right arm.
Honestly,
Okay. We need to check both.
Oh,
Okay.
so it goes from LO to RA.
Yeah, here to here. Okay. You are performing a 12-lead EKG on a patient. The printout is blank for the box AVR. AVR. Which electrode should you check on the patient's body?
oh, that's correct. I feel good about that.
Okay. So AVR is what type of a lead? A unipolar limb lead. AV stands for augmented vector. So part of my negative pole is my Wilson central terminal. And then R, I'm dealing with my right arm. Right arm. It's gonna be A. Okay? All right. You are performing a 12-lead EKG on a patient. You are aware that the electrode placed on the inner right ankle gives you which of the following views or leads? Inner right ankle. Inner right ankle. Okay, most of y'all did not fall for the trick. Y'all did good. Inner right ankle gives you what electrode? It's your right leg, which is your ground. Do we use your right leg electrode for any of our views? No. So what's our answer? None. Okay. Very good.